The moon feather is gone. The moon feather is gone. The woman screamed all through Umudora village as she ran barefoot across the dusty paths, waving her arms wildly. Villagers rushed out of their huts in confusion. What happened? Why are you shouting? The moon feather, she cried, gasping for breath. It's gone from the great seed cotton tree. Silence fell. A water pot slipped from a woman's hands and shattered. An old farmer dropped his hoe. Children stopped their games. Within moments, panic spread like wildfire. No. It can't be. Not again. People abandoned everything and rushed toward the sacred tree at the center of the village. Hundreds gathered beneath its massive branches. Fear gripped every heart as they stared upward. The rope was there. But the moon feather was gone. An elder stepped forward, his legs trembling. The prophecy. He whispered. A woman covered her mouth. Another began to cry. Everyone knew the story. Whenever the moon feather disappeared, disaster followed. The last time it vanished, disease swept through the land and dozens died. Nobody spoke for several seconds. Then fear exploded into chaos. The gods are angry. We are doomed. What have we done? Far from the crowd, at the edge of the village, 16-year-old Amara carried firewood toward her small hut. She frowned as she heard distant shouting. Her mother, Nkem, emerged from the doorway. What is happening? Amara asked. Nkem shook her head. I don't know. Before she could say more, several boys ran past. One pointed at Amara. The witch's daughter is outside. The others laughed. Maybe she stole the moon feather. Maybe her mother used witchcraft again. The boys burst into laughter. Amara lowered her eyes. Even after all these years, the insult still hurt. Nkem clenched her fist. Leave my daughter alone. The boys ran off, still laughing. Amara sat quietly on a wooden stool. Mama, why do they hate us so much? Nkem sighed heavily. They fear what they don't understand. But we've done nothing wrong. I know. Then why won't they believe us? Nkem gently touched her daughter's cheek. Because some people would rather believe a lie than admit they were wrong. Amara forced a weak smile. She had heard those words many times before. Yet the pain never disappeared. Ever since her father died mysteriously years ago, the villagers had treated Nkem like a curse. No evidence. No proof. Only rumors. And those rumors had poisoned everything. Suddenly, the royal gong echoed across the village. Boom. 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 Amara and her mother looked at each other. The royal gong was only used during emergencies. Something serious was happening. The entire village gathered before King Obi-Iza's palace. Fear hung in the air. Whispers spread through the crowd. Then King Obi-Iz stepped forward. Beside him stood the village elders. But nobody paid attention to them. All eyes turned toward the woman approaching from the distance. Mama Urena. The priestess. The crowd immediately fell silent. She carried her sacred staff and walked slowly toward the gathering. Even the king bowed his head slightly. That alone showed how much power she possessed. When she finally stopped, she raised her staff. The gods have spoken. Nobody moved. The disappearance of the moon feather is a warning. A nervous murmur spread. What warning? Someone shouted. Mama Urena's voice became colder. A great disaster approaches Umudora. Fear instantly returned. Several women began crying. One man dropped to his knees. No. Please. The priestess continued. There is only one way to restore balance. Everyone leaned forward. The festival of 12 stars must begin again. Gasps erupted. The festival had not been performed in decades. People spoke about it only in whispers. The old ritual. The sacred ceremony. Mama Urena nodded. 12 maidens must be chosen. The crowd became restless. Many parents immediately grabbed their daughters. One by one, the priestess pointed into the crowd. You. A girl stepped forward nervously. You. Another joined her. The selections continued. Fear grew with each name. By the time 11 maidens stood before the crowd, everyone prayed the choosing was over. Then Mama Urena turned. Her eyes locked onto Amara. The entire village seemed to stop breathing. You. Amara froze. Her heart pounded violently. No. Nkem whispered. The priestess raised her staff. Step forward. The crowd exploded into whispers. The witch's daughter. Of course. The gods know what they are doing. Amara felt her legs shaking. Mama. Nkem grabbed her hand. Stay behind me. The priestess frowned. Do not interfere. Kinobi spoke firmly. The selection has been made. Tears filled Nkem's eyes. Amara slowly stepped forward. The villagers watched with satisfaction. Some even smiled. To them, it felt right. If someone had to suffer, why not the girl they already hated? That night, neither Amara nor Nkem could sleep. Amara sat beside the small lantern. Mama. Yes. Do you think the gods hate me too? Nkem immediately turned toward her daughter. Never say that. But everyone else does. Everyone else is wrong. Amara's voice cracked. What if something bad happens to me? Nkem pulled her into a tight embrace. Nothing will happen. You don't know that. I know because I am your mother. Amara finally broke down crying. Nkem held her for a long time. Neither noticed the tears running down the older woman's face. The next morning, the 12 maidens were gathered in the village square. Mama Urena stood before them. The festival begins with a sacred dance. The girls exchanged nervous glances. You will dance before the spirits. One maiden raised her hand. What happens after that? The priestess looked at her. You will be ranked. The crowd listened carefully. The higher your rank, the greater your favor. A cold chill ran through Amara. And the lowest, another girl asked. Mama Urena's expression darkened. The lowest will carry the greatest burden. Fear instantly spread among the maidens. The dancing began. One after another, the girls stepped forward. Some performed well. Others stumbled. Then Amara's turn arrived. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and began. The crowd watched in stunned silence. Her movements were graceful, powerful, beautiful. Even visiting traders exchanged impressed looks. An elder nodded slowly. She is the best dancer. Another agreed. Without question. When she finished, applause erupted from some parts of the crowd. For the first time in years, Amara smiled. Maybe things would finally be fair. Maybe talent would matter. Maybe people would see her differently. But she was wrong. Very wrong. The drumbeat that marked the end of the dance competition echoed across Umudora, but for Amara it sounded distant, like it was coming from underwater. The villagers were still watching her. Some nodded slowly, acknowledging what they had just seen. Others looked away quickly, as if ashamed that they had enjoyed it. But most simply whispered. She danced too well. That's dangerous. Mama Urena stepped forward again, her face unreadable. She raised her staff slightly. The spirits have seen all performances, she said. The 12 maidens stood in a trembling line. Amara tried to steady her breathing, but her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She glanced at the other girls. Some avoided her eyes. Others looked at her with open resentment, as if her talent itself had insulted them. The priestess walked slowly in front of them. "One of you will carry the burden," she continued. "One will be chosen when the sacred dust is revealed." A wooden bowl was brought forward by 2 masked attendants. Inside it was a dark, shimmering powder. The crowd grew silent again. Even the wind seemed to pause. Mama Urena began the ritual. She moved from one maiden to another, gently touching their foreheads with the dust. Each time she did, the crowd reacted differently, some with relief, others with tension, depending on who stood before her. Amara watched each girl receive the mark. 1, 2, 3. As the number increased, her heartbeat grew louder in her ears. When the priestess reached the 11th girl, Amara almost collapsed from fear. Only one remained. The entire village was now focused on Amara. Every breath, every movement, every flicker of her expression was being judged. Mama Urena finally stood before her. She did not speak. For the first time, her expression changed slightly. Not anger. Not pity. Something else. Uncertainty. The crowd leaned in. Even King Obi stood up from his seat. "Proceed," he ordered quietly. The priestess raised the bowl. Slowly, she dipped her fingers into the sacred dust. Amara shut her eyes tightly. She thought of her mother. She thought of the insults. She thought of her father, gone without explanation. Then she felt it. A cold touch on her forehead. But instead of moving away, Mama Urena froze. Her hand remained on Amara's skin longer than necessary. The crowd began to murmur. "What is happening? Why is she stopping?" The priestess suddenly stepped back. Her voice was sharp. "The spirits have chosen." Silence. Then she pointed directly at Amara. "This one." A shockwave tore through the crowd. For half a second, there was confusion. Then celebration erupted. Drums began again. People shouted. Some clapped. Others danced in place. The tension that had been building for days exploded into relief, not for Amara, but for everyone else. The witch's daughter. He was meant for it. The gods are just. Amara stood frozen. Her legs refused to move. Nkem pushed through the crowd, screaming. "No. Please. Take me instead." 2 guards stopped her. "Mama." Amara cried out. Nkem struggled violently. "That's my child. You can't take her." But the king raised his hand. "Silence." Nkem went still. Her voice broke. "Please, she is all I have." Amara turned toward her mother. Their eyes met. Something inside Amara shattered. "Mama. I'm scared." Nkem shook her head, crying. "Don't say that. Don't you dare give them your fear." But Amara was already crying. The village watched like it was a festival performance. Some smiled. Some whispered prayers of relief that it wasn't their daughter. The priestess finally spoke again. The sacrifice would take place in 4 market days. Amara felt the words land inside her like stones. That night, the village celebrated. Drums, food, laughter. It was as if nothing had happened. As if a child's life had not just been marked for death. But in Amara's heart, there was no celebration. Only silence. She sat on the floor, staring at her hands. "I didn't do anything wrong," she whispered. Nkem sat beside her. "No, you didn't." "Then why me?" Nkem had no answer. Outside, the wind began to rise. Slowly at first. Then stronger. By midnight, the sky over Umudora had turned black. Thunder roared across the land like angry footsteps. Amara woke suddenly. "Mama." Nkem was already awake, holding her tightly. "It's just a storm," she said, though her voice betrayed her fear. But it wasn't just a storm. The wind howled louder than anything they had ever heard. The wooden walls of the hut shook. Somewhere in the distance, a tree snapped. Amara covered her ears. "I don't want to die," she whispered. Nkem held her tighter. "You won't." "How do you know?" "Because I refuse to bury my child." Lightning struck somewhere close, illuminating the entire village in a blinding flash. And in that moment, far from the hut, at the great sea cotton tree, something moved. The rope that once held the moon feather began to sway violently. Then suddenly, it stopped. The next morning came too quietly. The storm was gone. The village was silent. Until a scream broke it. "The moon feather. It's back." People ran barefoot toward the sacred tree again. And there it was. Hanging perfectly. Untouched. As if it had never disappeared. Confusion spread immediately. How is this possible? The ritual hasn't happened yet. At the palace, King Obi stood frozen. Mama Urena stared at the tree from a distance, her face pale. "This should not be," she whispered. But before anyone could understand it, something even more terrifying began. One of the chosen maidens screamed. She clutched her face. "I can't see." Her mother rushed to her. "What do you mean you can't see?" I can't see anything." Panic exploded. Within minutes, another maiden collapsed. Then another. One by one, the girls who had received the sacred dust began going blind. Screams filled the village. "No! My daughter! What have you done to her? The spirits are punishing us." Amara stepped outside her hut, confused by the noise. "What's happening?" she asked. A woman ran past her, crying. "They are blind. All of them." Amara froze. She moved toward the center of the village. People were everywhere, panicking, screaming, carrying their daughters. But then she saw something that made her stop completely. One of the blind girls was being led past her. The girl was crying. "Everything is dark. I can't see anything." But when Amara looked at her own hands, she could see clearly. She blinked. Then looked around. Everyone else was in chaos. But she could see everything. Perfectly. She stumbled backward. "No." A man grabbed her. You were chosen too. Why can you see?" Amara shook her head violently. "I don't know." Mama Urena appeared in the distance, moving slowly through the chaos. Her eyes locked onto Amara. For the first time, fear was visible on her face. The priestess whispered. "This was never a sacrifice." The crowd went silent. She continued, trembling. "This was judgment." All eyes slowly turned toward Amara. The same girl they mocked. The same girl they condemned. The same girl who now stood while everyone else fell apart. An elder fell to his knees. The gods refused the sacrifice. They protected her instead. Silence swallowed the entire village. Amara stood in the center of it all, breathing heavily, unable to understand what she was becoming in their eyes. Feared. Washed. Untouchable. And then, from somewhere deep inside the village, a voice shouted. "What is she?" No one answered. Because no one knew anymore. Amara slowly turned toward the great sea cotton tree. The moon feather swayed gently in the wind above her. And for the first time, the village that hated her was afraid to speak her name. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. Tell us what you think Amara truly is, cursed, chosen, or something far more powerful.